Brunson, 19-7, and I fight with the UFC. I was a kid with a lot of energy, you know, very hyper, very active. I played a lot of sports coming up, so that was me at an early age. It's funny, I kind of fell into MMA. I wrestled in college and high school. I was working a little bit after college and went into a gym that had mostly amateur MMA fighters. I started training with those guys as my wrestling partners, and I just kind of like fell into MMA. I trained for about 2 months before I had my first fight. I had a strong wrestling background, so I kind of just put everything together, and I was kind of relying off my wrestling at that point early on. The MMA scene was just starting, you know. A lot of old school veterans, you know, those guys were like Anderson Silva, those guys, Chris Lieben, those guys were reigning supreme. So I was watching a lot of those guys, and I was always like comparing myself to those guys, and it's funny because it came full circle, and I ended up fighting both of those guys. Started my career 9-0. Went into that fight against Colonel Grove, and all the MMA, I was like the hottest prospect in the world at that time. So all the MMA was there covering the fight, and they all had me winning the fight 30-27. And I fought him, I was in Strikeforce, and I fought him in a small town promotion, and it just kind of robbed me on the decision, you know. If I lose, I'm okay with that, but to lose, you know, when you dominate a fight is pretty crazy. I mean, but it's more of, you know, when you lose a fight or win a fight, most of the time, and also, you know, the opponents know when they win or lose a fight, and also they come up to you and be like, hey man, good job, you know, you got me. You know, I've heard that from 2 of the fights that I got split decision losses on, so it's one of those. So I had 6 fights, and I went to the big leagues, and I've been fighting, you know, and still there now. So it's one of those things, just a maturity process. I had the first big fight against a guy who's been fighting for like, you know, about 12 years before me. So it was just about maturity, growing, and paying my dues and getting better along the way. Chris Lieben was one of those guys I used to watch, and I'm like, man, I could beat that guy. And I got the call, hey, 2-week notice, Chris Lieben. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. At first I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Then I called my agent back, and I was like, hey, actually, can we like schedule it for later? He was like, I already told the UFC yes. I was like, all right, okay, I guess. So it's one of those, you know, first really big fight, first, you know, step up. Went from probably, I don't know, 2,000 people in the arena to about 30,000 on that night. So it was a huge fight, and, you know, went back to what got me in the sport, my wrestling, and it got me through the fight and was able to get the decision win. I mean, Anderson's a staple in this sport. You know, he made a long career, carried the sport for a long time. That was another fight that was sour at the end. I mean, every 90%, 95% of the media had me winning that fight, and even Anderson was after the fight, he was like, it's your time now, good fight, you know, you won it, good job. And then, you know, to lose a decision, yeah, another sour taste in the mouth. So, yeah, it felt good, it was validation, you know. Anderson and Lyoto are great friends, so it kind of felt like I got that fight back all at once. Lyoto was going into the fight, you know, saying he talked to Anderson and got a lot of pointers, so to go up against a legend like that, who's have a lot left in this sport. After that, he went on like a 3-fight winning streak, you know, beating some top guys in the world. So to get that win felt good. Some guys, you know, people say they don't like each other, or they really, you know, try to build up the fight or build up anticipation. But some guys just talk a lot and you really don't like them. So going into the fight, we had a lot of animosity against each other, and it was good to ultimately bring the UFC back to Charlotte. You know, I hit Dana up. I was, you know, being an advocate for quite some time, trying to get him back in North Carolina. He said, hey, buddy, we're going to get it going. So got the opportunity to headline the card, and didn't go my way, but, you know, we're growing the sport in North Carolina. It was a great showing, sold out arena. So, a lot of sacrifices, you know. Starting at day 1 for, you know, packing my stuff out, heading to Greg Jackson's, where I trained at for 5 years, you know. Having $0 in the bank account, you know, and I tell everybody, sometimes I want to just pull up my Wells Fargo app and be like, look at this, you know, this didn't just come from me saying I want to do this. It came from sacrifices, seeing $0 in my bank account, ordering whole chickens, eating on that, you know, just having minimal, you know, working hard, making sure I attend all training sessions so that one day it can pay off and pay dividends and, you know, be able to live a great life.